Okay. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Good morning. My name is Reverend Sally Robbins, and I'll be your minister of service this morning. And we're so glad that you chose to join us, whether you're on Zoom today with us or watching on YouTube. Watching later, we're just glad that you're here and that you're a part of this thriving community. So let's start today, the service today, by sharing our statement of oneness that led us into our opening prayer. So if you'll say this statement with me: there is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God the good omnipotence. And we'll begin with just a centering prayer. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Let's all take a deep breath in and just relax. Feel the weight of the chair supporting you. Ideally, have your feet flat on the floor. Feel yourself centered and coming to that center point in yourself that knows all, sees all, and is all. And from this place, we do recognize the oneness, the absolute verity of spiritual truth, that we are one with God, the God within, and God is us. We know that we are simply the mouthpiece of God this morning and every day, that we are the hands and feet of God, that we are here to do the mighty work that is ours to do. Each one of us is on purpose, on path, on the powerful journey of showing up as God, as us. And so I know this morning we are coming together, unified in this mission, to not only show up as God, as us, but to be the community that is Unity of Charlotte. Because we know that when we come together, where two or more are gathered, there is the great I am. And so we revel in that this morning, that the presence of God is here and right now, within each one of us, and shared even through the Zoom. Even if we are not in physical space with each other, we know that we are energetically connected because we are one. And so I know this powerful connection cannot be dampened, even when we are far apart from each other, even when we're not locally with each other, that we can still know that the oneness is there for each one of us to tap into at any moment of any day. And so I know in that space that we are directed and guided by that inner voice within. We know exactly what to do and when to do it. And even if we can't see the whole picture, we know that the next step is always being given to us perfectly and completely. And we know that that is ours to do. And so as we do that, we are then revealed the next step and the next. And so I know that this faith that we are practicing now, going through uncertain times in the world today, that we can have every bit of peace of mind knowing that God is in the midst of this, and that nothing is random in this universe. Nothing is out of kilter. We might be knocked off center every now and then, but that is simply our practice to come back to that center point again and again and again. And so I know and acknowledge that each one of us is practicing with perfection that which we are here to do. We are practicing oneness. We are practicing being on purpose. We are practicing being loving and kind in all situations. We are practicing the perfection of the God within. And so I know that this time together this morning is fruitful. I know that hearts are cracking wide open right now. Minds are opening up to receive a revelation. There is a quickening. There is an awakening that is happening right now within each person hearing the sound of my voice. And spirit is coming through loud and clear, whether it's through the spoken word, whether it's through a feeling, whatever, we simply are open and ready and available for that which Spirit would have us hear and feel. And so I bless our time together this morning, knowing that each and every one of us will receive something of great import, that we will absolutely have a divine revelation, something that makes us different and stronger than when we were when we logged on to this call. And so I just bless this time. I bless each and every person who has made this time possible, all the hands behind the scenes that make things work. We're just so grateful for all that have come together here at Unity of Charlotte to make today happen, to make everything in the community's world happen. And so with grateful hearts, we just say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you for all that is and for all that is yet to be. We are blessed. We are grateful. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. All right. So thank you again for being with us this morning. We open our Zoom link a little bit before the 10:30 start time. So if you'd like to log on a few minutes before and just chat with those of us who are there, we would love to just connect with you at that time. We also stay on a little bit afterwards just to chat and talk and be with each other. So you're welcome to stay for that as well. And for those of us joining us on YouTube, we invite you to subscribe to our talks and to like the Unity of Charlotte YouTube channel. That helps you and others find our YouTube broadcast at any time. And we look forward to seeing you sometime in the hopefully not too distant future. Our normal Sundays, we have a great program for children and teens that meets at the same time. So you can plan to bring your kids and your grandkids. Also, a couple of quick announcements. The Tuesday meditations are going on hiatus. So hopefully, we're hoping that they can resume again in the fall. So they are not going to be meeting from this time forward. So stay tuned for further notice about that. And also, there is a book study that happens after this broadcast. And so, Jim, I think if you just stay on and will it be on this exact same link? Is that how they
link at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
1 p.m. with the same link that they log on for? No? So you go onto the website and the information will be there. There we go. Okay. So if you're interested in being in that book study, you'll find out all the information about it. It will start at 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can go on to unityofcharlotte.org and find out the login information. And we'd love to have you join us for that. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, we are definitely, even in this time when we're not physically with each other, we know that this is actually creating situations where people need more prayer and more support. And we want you to know that we're here for you. So all you have to do is go to our website, unityofcharlotte.org. There is a place that just says, prayer support. You can click on that, and it's a confidential. When you fill out that form, it goes straight to our prayer team, who will lovingly pray for you and know the highest and best in your situation. So please feel free to utilize that service. You can also call Unity's telephone prayer ministry, which has been around for well over 100 years, Silent Unity. At any time of the day or night, they're available 24/7, and you just dial 800-NOW-PRAY. That's NOWPRAY, and they will also be happy to pray with you. So if you want someone voice to voice, you can call Silent Unity, and they will be happy to assist you. So let's say this affirmation together. Because my Creator is free, I am free. I would never imagine God to be limited or bound by things of time or of this world. As a creation of an unlimited Creator, I know I too must be limitless, just like my Creator. Because my Creator is free, I am free. Wonderful. So We'll now move into my talk for today. I'm going to go, there we go. So you can see that full screen. Can everybody see it? Thumbs up? Yes, okay. So expect the unexpected is my message for today. And I really love this topic because it gave me the opportunity to really dig deep into some of the things that I've been working on for many, many years. And I'm going to start with a story. You know how I love stories. And so my old sales manager, his name is Mike Barnhart, and I worked at a radio station many, many years ago. And one day Mike called me into his office because every week we had to fill out a sheet. I love how sales organizations sometimes want you to put down everything they think you're going to sell in that week, as if you have some crystal ball or something. But they always wanted to see what did you think you were going to sell that week, and then turn that in every week to the sales manager. And I did that every single week, and to the best of my ability, I figured out, okay, this is going to come in, and maybe this will come in, and we always had a monthly quota. We had to match our monthly quota, whatever the sales manager had given us. That's what we were expected to generate in sales. And what I was selling was radio airtime, so commercials to local and regional businesses. So Mike called me into his office one day, and he said, every week when you turn in your sales sheet, you have something on there and it says serendipity, and you'll have like $10,000 or $8,000 or some figure there. Is that a dress shop, or what is that? Because I had to list the clients and what I expected were coming in. And I laughed and I said, no, it's not a dress shop. It's serendipity is when I think, I know that there's a certain amount I have to produce every single week, and these are the ones that I know that I'm going to turn in, and what's left over I'd put under serendipity. So if I know that I'm $10,000 short, I have the expectation that somehow that's going to come in, and somehow I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm calling it serendipity. And he went, oh, okay, I've never had a salesperson do that before. But here's the kicker, that every time I put that down there, something would come in. One week I was majorly short, like $50,000 short, and I didn't know where it was going to come in. But I put down serendipity, expecting that something would come from somewhere. I wasn't sure where. I clearly wasn't sure how. And that week, a large department store that almost never placed ads with me placed a $50,000 order. And so I just loved seeing how when I expected the best, this was my training, my teaching, that when I expect the best, the universe usually rushes right in to support me. And so my sales manager got a lesson in how I generated those sales. He thought it was a little woo-woo, but it didn't matter to me. It worked for me. That's really all that mattered. And what I discovered, this whole idea of serendipity actually came out of this book by a Unity minister by the name of Marcus Bach, B-A-C-H. I'm going to share my screen again and show you that his book is called The World of Serendipity. This was written in 1970, 50 years ago, so I'm not even sure this is in print anymore, but it's I still have it. It's one of the best things out there that I have found that explain this idea of serendipity. And Marcus actually explains in the first chapter how he came up with this idea. And this is what he wrote, that there was an old Persian fairy tale. And don't we love how our truths are sometimes wrapped in these mythical tales? And so this tale actually was shared. Walpole wrote to man in January of 1754 about this fairy tale. And this is what he said. The tale had to do with the three princes of Serendip. And Serendip was an ancient name for Ceylon. These three young noblemen, while traveling through the world, rarely found the treasures they were looking for. So they went out on a mission looking for treasures. They rarely found those, but they continually ran into other treasures equally great or even greater than that which they were seeking. So in looking for one thing, they found something else. And it dawned on them that this was one of life's sly tricks. When they realized that they got an entirely new slant on life, and every day resulted in a new and thrilling experience. Even though their goals eluded them, they were more than rewarded with their wayside discoveries, and soon it was as if an unseen power and guidance seemed to know better than they knew what was best for them in the long run of search and discovery. I love that idea because many times we think we know what we want. And yet, when we go out looking for it, sometimes the detours that happen on that adventure to find that is what is the juice of life. And so serendipity, Marcus explains, is this. It's the faculty of making happy and unexpected discoveries by accident. So you're not out there looking for that particular thing, but you find it when you're looking for something else or when you're on the path to another intention. So the world of serendipity means that I know that even though I set myself a plan for what I want to do with the best internal guidance that I can tune into, and yet I'm available because there's things that I don't even know yet, things that aren't even in my psyche, in my consciousness, that I'm not aware of, that Spirit wants to bring into my world that is for my highest good. I've often said to myself, don't let your good get in the way of your better. Don't let your good get in the way of your better. Because sometimes I'm on a path towards something good and something better comes along. But if I'm not available for it, if I'm so focused that I've got to get this, I could miss it entirely. I could miss the better entirely. That's what I love about serendipity. That's why I love how we are absolutely moving into a place of magical and mysterious ways that Spirit moves through our lives. Supreme Court Justice Benjamin Cardozo said this, like many of the finest things in life, like happiness and tranquility and fame, the gain that is most precious is not the thing that is sought, but one that comes of itself in the search for something else. I think we can all relate to this, right? We've all been on the path where we thought we were headed in one direction, and a wonderful detour took us into a great new adventure that we never had in a million years would have planned. So that's what I want us to really focus on this morning. How is it that I can be open and available to my good, even when I think I'm on the path to something else? That's the real juice of life. I had an assistant at one of my previous churches. As the senior minister there, she was my administrator. Her name is Carla. She was a fabulous administrator, but she knew that she wanted something else, and she had decided that she wanted to go for her master's, and she wanted to go to graduate school. And she went to an open house at a place called Thai Sophia because she wanted to get her master in healing arts and apply it to her current occupation, which, because she worked for me part-time, but she really wanted to be in the healing arts and acupuncture and all of those things. And during this open house, there was a presentation that was a part of, these are the courses that we offer. And she heard this woman do a presentation on herbs and how herbs of all kinds can have these wonderful healing properties. She was immediately tuned on to that and said, oh my God, that's what I want to learn. That's what I want to get my degree in. And that's what she did. She spent the next several years getting a degree in herbology, which prepared her to where she could then, when clients came in, she could talk about how herbs could heal in a very loving and non-invasive way. She never would have even considered herbs if she hadn't gone to that open house. That was the wonderful way that she moved into a whole new ideology and world that she had never discovered before, because she was open to it. because as she went to this other place to learn about a master's in healing arts, she was like, no, that's where I need to be. And she tuned into that, and she followed what her heart told her. This spiritual path is so much about us listening. And listening requires that we be quiet sometimes. Listening requires that we get rid of the distractions. I think that's one of the best things that has come from COVID-19, is that we're getting really clear on what is just distracting us and not really necessary in our life, and what is a time for us truly listening to ourselves. How can we nourish that part of ourselves? Because that's the real guidance that we're always looking for. The answer is always within us. Are we willing to take the time to listen for it? That's the real question. And that's what Carla did. Art Fry, you've probably heard this story many times. I used to work at 3M. My husband got a job in Minneapolis, and now ex-husband. And we moved there, and I got a job in 3M, which is a huge, huge corporation, which is located right there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And this guy was a hero there when I worked there many years ago, because Art Fry and another scientist there at 3M were playing with adhesives. That was their goal, was to find adhesives. And another scientist had found one that didn't have, it was sticky, but it wouldn't stick like glue. It wouldn't like really hold like they thought they wanted. And so Art Fry was in a choir, and he would go to choir practice during the week, and he would take his hymnal and he would put little pieces of paper in the hymnal to mark the songs that they were going to sing. But as soon as he opened the book, those little pieces of paper fell out, and he was getting really frustrated. And then he remembered that adhesive that didn't quite work. He went back to that other scientist and said, what if we took this adhesive, which still, it sticks, but then you can lift it off. What if we put it on paper? And what if we then took that, and that could go into the hymnals, and maybe there's other uses for that. So they got their heads together. They tried a few samples. They distributed them to the administrators there in 3M, who just said, give us more of this. This is fantastic. We want this product. And the rest is history, that now there are over 600 Post-it products from that one idea, that mistake that happened where the adhesive didn't quite work the way they thought it would. But Art Fry and his available mind said, there's something here that I think is bigger than everything that I'm thinking of right now. And sure enough, he was available for it, and he was able to move into a place of a whole new world that happened because Post-its had never even been on the horizon of anyone. It happened because of a mistake. The serendipity that happened when he was available for that allowed him to move into the Inventors Hall of Fame. That's where he is now. They inducted him in the Inventors Hall of Fame because he took an idea of a failure and turned it into something that was massively successful. We all have that capability. Spirit is always right there with a better idea. Are we open to it? Can we listen, and can we stop and go, wait a minute, there might be something more here. There might be something more. So, and Art Fry, made this discovery in 1974. It took 6 more years. Sometimes we leave things languishing because we are not willing to put the time and effort into it. But he was. So the Post-its were launched in 1980. So from 74 to 80, he was still working on this. He was still trying to figure out, how can we make this work? He was testing it. He was putting it out in sample situations. And that's the time and the willingness to work an idea was what took him to great heights. So is this chance or just circumstance? I don't think so. Anatole France says, chance is the pseudonym God uses when he does not want to sign his name. I love that. Chance is the pseudonym God uses. So God is always showing up as a better idea. Are we open and available to it? That's the key. In New Thought, we don't really believe in luck or being fortunate. We know that the law is always working for our highest good. It's always working for us if we choose to work with it. My teacher, Dory Rose, said this: despite outer appearances, something is moving in the unseen for my greater good. That's still one of my favorite sayings, because when I get to a place where I start thinking, this isn't working, I'm hitting a wall. Have you ever been there? Many times have I been there. And this is a phrase that I say to myself over and over again. Despite outer appearances, something is moving in the unseen for my greater good. That's where I have to have the trust. That's where I have to grow my spiritual muscle, the muscle of faith, the muscle of trust, the muscle of knowing that God is with me in this, and that I can move mountains if I simply allow myself to be an instrument for good in this world. Dory Rose was one of my favorite teachers because of that. She always, always was looking for, how is my highest good unfolding here, even when it doesn't look like it is. So I've had several instances where my good shows up in ways that don't look like it's my good. And I think we've all been there too. This chapter of my life, I actually call it Thank You, Pat Crawford, because Pat Crawford was a boss of mine. Again, I worked at a radio station, and I had only been there a few months, and Pat Crawford, nice man, but he and I just did not get along. And that's unusual, because I'm typically very easygoing, but for some reason, we just kept hitting walls with each other. And one day, Pat Crawford called me into his office. I'd only been there a couple months. And he said, I want your resignation. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa. I was 25 years old. I had never really failed at anything. I'd been very successful in my career up to that point. And I was really shocked and considered that as a failure of my own. What I had to open myself up to was the idea that there was a greater good awaiting me. I was in the wrong place. And Pat Crawford was simply helping me move out of that place. It wasn't by my choice, and I didn't like it, but he was simply the vehicle to get me moving onto something else. So after the initial shock of him saying, I want your resignation, and I basically said, okay, I will resign if that's what you want, because I could see that this was not going to be a pleasant subject if I had fought it. And honestly, I don't want to be in a place where I'm not celebrated and wanted. So this was a really good test for me. So I allowed myself some, crying in my beer time of just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I shook it off and I was like, wait a minute, there's something better out there for me. I don't know what it is yet, but I just have trust. I have faith. Even at 25, this was part of me growing my spiritual muscle. This was a part of me learning to trust that the universe was always on my side. And so I made an announcement to my friends, and I said, in 2 weeks, I will have a job that's even better than this one. Because I gave 2 weeks notice, and I said, in 2 weeks, not only will I have a job, it'll be better than this one. I didn't have any idea what that was. I didn't have any leads. I didn't know what was available. I hadn't checked the want ads, because back in those days, you looked in the newspaper. None of that. Well, sure enough, I started calling people that I knew and letting them know that I was available. And one particular fellow that, because I was in radio, I had called on him. He was an owner of an ad agency, so he knew me because I called on him. He said, I've been looking for an account executive. I think you might be a good fit. So sure enough, in 2 weeks, I became an account executive at his ad agency, which was a far better job, and grew me into something that was not just radio. Now I was dealing with television, print, and all kinds of things. I was serving advertising clients and working on their media and marketing plans. It was a great growth period for me to go into this kind of work. And I look back on that now and think, wow, I had a lot of chutzpah. But I think what was really clear to me was I wanted to work these principles. I wanted to be the spiritual person that I thought I was. I wanted to embody the principles as best as I could. And so now I thank Pat Crawford. I thank him, because if I'd stayed there, I would have been doing the same thing in an environment that was not great. And he got me up and out to something that was so much better in the long run. Don't let your good get in your way of your better. I could have fought it, but I saw very quickly that fighting was not the answer. And so I was able to move into something that was a much better position for me. And I didn't even know it at the time what that meant. I didn't know what being an account executive in an ad agency meant. I knew I could learn, though, and I knew that I was up for the challenge. So thank you, Pat Crawford. Thank you. I hope you're very successful today and that you have had a wonderful career yourself, because you were simply doing the best, that you knew how to do, and you had an employee that needed to move up and out. So thank you for being a part of that process. Immanuel Kant said this: accept all your duties as divine commands. Accept all your duties as divine commands. What if we took everything that we were responsible for as a divine opportunity to be on this planet in service? Oh my gosh, this world would change radically if we did that. We wouldn't be grumbling about what we had to do. We would see this as a divine responsibility. That's what I'm talking about. Moving into a place where the unexpected is not only okay, it's welcomed, because that can be a whole new a playing field for us that we never would have even considered before. You might have something going on in your life right now where you are being faced with a tough choice, a tough situation. What if you relaxed your guard and just said, Spirit, I know you got my back. Spirit, I know that there's something here in the unseen for my greater good. Spirit, I let go and surrender to what is my greater good. Your life could change dramatically with those sayings, with that heartfelt acceptance that all is unfolding in divine right order for you right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. It might not be comfortable. As a matter of fact, it might be downright painful. That's okay. That's okay. You too can rise above this. I'm going to go back and share one more saying with you. Paramahansa Yogananda says, spiritual success comes by understanding the mystery of life and by looking on all things cheerfully and courageously, realizing that events proceed according to a beautiful divine plan. Oh my goodness. That, in a nutshell, is what we're talking about this morning. The mystery of life. And we know that life is always having these wonderful, what look like roadblocks sometimes that come to us. Those mysteries, those obstacles are simply the opportunities. By looking on all things cheerfully and courageously, realizing that events proceed according to a beautiful divine plan. That's what we're talking about this morning. There is a divine plan for your life and for mine, for all of us. And you and I have the capability to rise above whatever it is, even when it doesn't look like we do. I promise you, you do. And if you need help in prayer with that right now, reach out to us. Reach out. There's many of us who are happy to know the truth for you, that strength is, every ounce of strength you will ever need is right there, right now. And that the three princes of serendipity found these wonderful opportunities even when they weren't looking for them. And I know that can be the truth for you too. You know, when I moved here to Asheville, I moved here for a very specific purpose. I moved here to be a part of a church, and I was so excited about that. I was so excited about joining that church and eventually becoming their senior minister. And I basically packed up my entire life and moved here, knowing that that's what I was going to do. I was very intentional, very purposeful about that. I didn't know anybody in Asheville. I took the chance and said, you know what? This is what I feel like I'm supposed to do. 7 months into my run there as the associate minister of that church, I knew that I was not in my right place. I knew it long before then, but I kept trying. I kept trying to make myself fit into something that really wasn't working. And by the end of that seventh month, I knew that that was not going to happen. And so I gave my resignation, and I basically had to have a very long talk with Spirit about this. And I just said, look, Spirit, I surrender. I don't know what the next step is for me. I moved here for this position. It's not working out. So I know that my highest and best is still unfolding for me. And even though I can't see it right now, I know that whatever happens is my divine purpose. And so I resigned, left on very good terms. I still guest speak at that church occasionally. But I knew that I was not meant to stay there. And I listened. And it was very difficult because I thought, you know how you just, you know. And then you show up and it's like, that's not it. That's what happened to me. And I had to let go of that dream of what I thought was going to happen and move into a place of complete surrender and just saying, okay, I don't know what's next. And as I did that, I started reaching out. I was doing some marketing on the side. I'd been doing that all along, but even that was not really working. That started drying up too. And I was really getting frustrated because, Spirit, I've never had trouble getting a job. What's the deal here? And finally, last fall, I, again, just put my hands up and said, I surrender. Spirit, what I'm trying to control is not working. I let it go. And as I did so, the moment that I did so, that day, something came through in my email box, an offer for an interview. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Not really sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but let me try. By the end of a half-hour interview with that recruiter, I knew that that's what I had to do. And it was nothing that I ever would have considered in a million years. And I ended up joining a company called New York Life. And I now work with people and do their retirement and financial and life insurance, and something I'd never, ever learned before. I never knew it. And I am having the time of my life. I never thought that, this could be this much fun. It's hard, but it's fun. And I'm with people that I really admire. And I never would have considered this, ever, that this is my next ministry, helping people. And so I am amazed at how Spirit works its mysterious ways, because I knew that the vehicle to get me here to Asheville was what the church led me to this. So sometimes it makes no sense on paper what we're doing, and yet it's the most fulfilling work that we'll ever do. So you and I have to be open and available to that, and be thankful for when those things do happen, because when we expect the unexpected, that something beautiful can happen out of something that is causing you frustration and pain. Then we get to say, oh, 2020 is great, because we get to see what we thought, oh, that didn't work out, but I really was doing this for this. That makes a world of difference. What the art of it is being grateful when you are in it, and know that even if I can't see what is next yet, I can know that Spirit is guiding me, lovingly supporting me every step of my way. So you and I have opportunities here, because COVID-19, the racial unrest, all these things that are our pattern interrupts in our world right now. It's causing us to do things in a whole new way that we never have done before. And there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth going on around that. And I've been one of those people because I don't like change as much as the next person. And yet I know from the depths of my being that these pattern interrupts are simply there for us to be open and available, to expect the unexpected, to know that there is something moving in the unseen for all of our greater good. There's a shift happening, and we can be a part of that shift. We can know the truth about ourselves, that I am simply one being, and if I do my spiritual work, that impacts the whole world. So is there someone in your life that you can thank, like I thank Pat Crawford, someone that you were probably cussing at the time, like I was cussing him at the first part of that experience? Is there someone that you can look back and go, yeah, I really thank that person now, because they helped me into an unexpected gift that came into my life. They were the vehicle that got me there. Think about that. Who in your life can you now say thank you to? Because they opened you to a greater good that you never would have considered if you had kept on the same course. Life is what happens when we are not expecting it. And so when we are in that place of going, I didn't expect this, and I can bless it and know that it too is for my highest good. So you and I have that capability right now to step into a new awareness, shift into a new paradigm, that expecting the unexpected is one of the best ways we can work our spiritual path. One of the best ways we can open to our greater good, both our spiritual good, our physical good, our financial good, our wealth good, all of that can be uplifted to a whole new place if we simply allow ourselves to surrender to the greater good that is already happening. So let's take that into prayer. I invite you to just close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in. I've just unloaded a whole lot. So let's just breathe into that. Breathe in and breathe out. Thank you, Spirit, for this time together this morning, to know the truth that we are all on this sacred path, journeying together, helping each other, knowing that Spirit always has our back, and that despite outer appearances, something is always moving in the unseen for our greater good. And so I know that the blessings that are coming now into my life may not even appear to be blessings at the moment, and yet I know that they are. I can call it good, even when people around me that maybe it seems like there's harm in their intention. God means it for good. I know that through the very depths of my being, that God is on the scene and nothing and no thing can come between me and my good. And so I bless all those circumstances that have brought me to where I am today. Those circumstances that have opened me to my greater good. Those circumstances that have forced me out of my comfort zone and caused even some pain sometime, caused me to learn something new. Those were wonderful opportunities. I see that now. And I give great thanks for all of those circumstances, those people that came into my life that helped me grow to who I am in this moment. I give great thanks for all that has happened on my path. And as I do so, I let go of any unforgiveness, any resentment, even anger around those circumstances, because I know that God has always supported me, guided me. When I chose to listen, I could hear that still small voice that always was showing me the correct way, the new path upon which I should embark. And so I just give great thanks this morning that there is a surrender that is happening with each one of us, that we surrender to that path that Spirit would have us be on, to that greater good that is calling forth all the strengths that we have, all the courage that we have, all of that is now coming to the forefront. And we have what it takes to move into that greater good. I know that. And so I just give honor and thanks now to each and every person who is saying yes with me to this spiritual path that may not be easy, but it is always, always clear when we listen to that voice in our heart that is always guiding us and directing us to our greater good. I let go and I let these words, knowing that as I declare them, they are already done in mind. The only place anything ever happens, it is done. We let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Okay. Serendipity. It is the adventure of a lifetime, and it's a chance for each of us to grow, All right, so this is our time that we honor, even though we're not passing a basket, not physically anyway. This is our chance. If you've received something this morning, or if you receive spiritual food or something that helps you on your spiritual path, if you receive that from this community, I invite you to be open to giving back, because we know that there is a law of circulation. There is the law of giving and the law of receiving. It takes both. It takes both. And so even if your giving is what you would think is a small amount, we know that all of it coming together is helping Unity of Charlotte be the beacon on the hill, that place where you can come on Sunday mornings and get spiritually fed and know the truth about yourself and know the truth of the others in this community, that we are all serving in the highest capacity we know how to do. And so if you would like to, we give great thanks for all of those of you who are continuing to mail in your checks. You can go to, I'll actually share my screen because we actually have that address there. And let me see, let's move this to the next. There's our address, Unity of Charlotte on Arrowwood Road. And then you'll see again our website, unityofcharlotte.org. And that is where you can actually go and you can actually click on the Donate Now. It's a very easy and safe process for you. So if you don't like writing out checks, guess what? We've made it really easy for you. And it's a chance for you to really support this wonderful work of us being a light in Charlotte, in North Carolina, in the Southeast, in the world. We are blessing because people can now watch us from all over the world. Someone in Bangladesh could be watching this. And isn't that wonderful that we can provide this kind of spiritual food to anyone, anywhere on the globe now. And your contributions help us do that. So we invite you to do that with us. So I invite you to say this prosperity blessing with me. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. All right. I'm so grateful for our time together today. And we're going to close with our prayer of protection. So if you would say this with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're so grateful for you to have joined us and spent part of your Sunday morning with us. We're grateful for all that you do for this community. Thank you. We hope that you'll stay. If you were interested in the book club, Jim Fuller will be leading that at 1 p.m. today Eastern. You can go onto our website and find the login information for that. Hopefully he'll have a fabulous message for us next Sunday. So however and wherever you come back and see us, we hope to see you again. God bless you.